All right, so my name is Neal Richardson, and today I'm going to be talking about n8n, as we mentioned earlier, and let's get started. So by the end of the talk, I hope that you should know what n8n is, have an opportunity to see it displayed, maybe even try it if you have your laptop with you, but mostly try to take the opportunity in the future to try it out for yourself and see what you can do. Here's kind of the agenda. I'll introduce myself a little bit, kind of where I learned it, a little bit of my work history, and then talk about what n8n is through the slides, what it can do, some of the core concepts and stuff, why it's growing in attention and why it's getting popularity. And then we'll switch over to a live demo, which I'm hoping will take up the most time. I wrote some workflows ahead of time, and we may try to do some after the fact, depending on the network, so hopefully it all works. And then we'll have time for questions at the end. If there's a pertinent question, feel free to interrupt me, but I may not see you if I'm staring down. So, all right. So this is an old photo of me the first year that I started developing professionally, and along with being a professional developer, I'm a procrastinator. So if there's any issues, just let me know after the fact so I don't get nervous now. But I'm the lead professional services engineer for Bluescape. Professional services is basically customer-facing developer, so I help them deploy our software and do some other things, integrate with our APIs. Before that, I worked in DevOps and cloud development for Expedia, Cerner, and ABF Freight down in Fort Smith, which is where this photo was taken. I am a husband and father of 4. A couple of my kids and my wife are here today. I appreciate that. And I'm a tech enthusiast. I've had a computer around the house since the 80s, and so I really enjoy it. And I like to say, you either know me or you don't, but I appreciate everyone coming out to my presentation today. So how did I find out about n8n? I'd actually never heard of it until my current job that I started. And as soon as I got there, they said, hey, you need to learn n8n today. And I thought, what is this? It looks like Zapier. It looks like if this and that. And so they had a couple of demos and integrations that had been written. The goal of it was that our software that we deploy, Bluescape, has a REST API, a GraphQL API, and n8n is designed to hit those really easily, make it easier to code to, low code, no code. So that's where I learned about it, is working on at my current job. But in addition to that, there's a ton of YouTube videos, especially in the last 4 or 5 months, because they just released version 2.0. And so it's just blowing up. There's a lot of hosts, or a lot of sponsors that are sponsoring n8n videos. So there's a lot there. And then n8n.io is their website. Tons of documentation, really well written, community driven. So that's where I learned it. So why should you even care about n8n? First of all, it's fast, it's easy, and it's fun. It's not always cheap, but it can be. So fast, easy, and cheap is usually a hard triangle to put together. So what is it? There's the Wikipedia summary over here, but basically it started in 2019, about 6 or 7 years ago, by John Obenhauser, who's from Germany, Berlin, Germany. And he was looking to do an open source alternative to the other ones that we mentioned, Zapier, if this and that, and other solutions, and wanted to get the community involved to do task automation. And so with those contributions in the community and the open source GitHub issues and things, it continued to grow. As of March, according to Wikipedia, it's got over 200,000 active users, and it just received a $2.5 billion Series C valuation, which I don't know a ton about valuations and stuff, but I know a lot about money, and 2.5 is a lot, so that's my idea. The reason it's called n8n is because nodimation has 10 letters and 2 n's, so you can count the letters in the middle. It's node automation. It runs on Node.js, so that's the joke. And it's similar to i18n. If you're familiar with internationalization, they just shorten it to make it kind of catchy. So what is it that n8n can do? The gist of it is that you can do low-code, no-code workflows or automations. You can do REST and GraphQL integrations if you don't have a built-in integration already. You can do tons of data manipulation. Everything is JSON structured or binary, mostly JSON though. And so it passes from node to node to node with JSON, which is a developer-friendly format. And then recently, and why they're blowing up, is that they have some AI simplifications. It's pretty awesome, and I'm hoping to be able to get to that part of it as well. So just as an example of their popularity, it's hard to see because I tried to go all the way out to the length of the history of n8n, but it was okay. It had a couple of things on Google Trends, and then at or around March or so of last year, it just completely exploded. All the YouTube videos started coming out. They got their 2.0 version. They got their evaluation. So it's getting a lot of attention because all the community and the developers that work for them have written over 400 built-in integrations, which I'll show you what those are. But basically, you don't have to write REST calls. You use a UI to make the REST calls for you. You can do self-hosted for free or pay their premium. You can also do their cloud software as a service solution. And they do have enterprise-grade features. They've added GitHub integration. They've added workflow history. They've added logging, and it's very scalable. You can do hundreds of requests per minute, and I don't know exactly what it is. It's depending on the server it's running on, obviously. So, and then it's got some good error handling logic controls that make it a little more powerful than some of the competitors out there. And the last part is that you can not only have it call things, but things can call it through its webhooks. Some widgets that you can deploy, like a little website widget that you embed code with. And it's got an API if you want to go to the CLI level and make calls. And ultimately, it's the community that built it. So that's what makes it extendable. And that's why it's popular. And again, we'll get to the AI agents, but I'm pretty convinced that that's where most of the explosive growth has come from. So time for the live demo. A couple of things we'll cover are the core concepts of what is in n8n. A quick hello world application just to show what the workflow and the UI look like. And then I have 2 or 3 simple workflows that we've done that I did earlier that I know work. And then we'll try to do a few, add some logic flows and other error handling and stuff that may work, may not work, because it'll be live. And then we'll get into the AI integrations. And then we'll have time for questions after. So we will end it for now. So I have actually deployed this in VPS Online. And so it's in the cloud, on the web, and it's running on Docker Compose on a server with an IP, and I have it redirected. So as long as it behaves itself, we should be able to access it. Yeah. So when you first land, it'll have you set up your username and password and everything. You've got your profiles. But once you get there, there's a couple of things that are core concepts. You've got workflows, which are where the, it's not responding, which stinks. It's probably because my phone's disconnected. Un momento. While it's loading, workflows are the automations themselves. Nodes are the connecting bits within a workflow. And then, there we go. I switched to my phone, it works just fine. And then the integrations are the plugins that are part of the nodes. So just to get started, we'll create our first workflow. They do have an option to use, is this coming through okay, by the way? It's kind of it's the light mode, which I think is better for the projector. So let me know if I need to resize it or anything. But the idea is that you can use a template, but everything starts with a trigger or an event. You can, when I develop stuff, I like to just click execute workflow. You know it's always going to start and run. You don't have to have any external hooks. And then if you want to do something, you can do some code, or you can have it call a system out there, but console.log hello world. And then execute it. Every time you execute the step, it'll go through and process all the nodes before it. And then if I logged into the server, there should be in the logs of Docker that hello world. But that's not very interesting because anyone can write stuff to the console. That's pretty early. So what we can do instead is actually go to something like Discord or other services and post things to that. So instead of using our own code, we look for Discord. And Discord has basically provided some integrations that will send a message using my webhook. And I come out here, and I think I just created a webhook on it. I need to double check. If not, I can use the other one. And integrations, create webhook. It's called Spidey Bot, copy webhook. And then we come out here and paste it. And we'll call it Discord webhook live. So I don't have any credentials created yet for this part of it, and it's all set up now. So it'll send a message hello Discord. And hopefully it'll behave itself. And we can close all these windows. And don't show again. There you go, hello Discord. So that shows how if a built-in integration exists, you can do a UI-based editing. It knows what APIs to call. It knows the REST handlers, all the OAuth, all those things, and it does the work for you. So that's what the idea of low code or no code is. You can add options and properties. You can change the URL or have it do other features that are more complicated, but that's kind of the hello world. So let me check my notes real quick. So we've got workflows, nodes are the things in between, and then the other triggers that we can do are, in addition to clicking execute workflow, we can have it run off of an event. Oh, whoops, I need to create a new trigger. There we go. So on an app event, and it's the same thing. Say we've got a Jira application, and we want to say on issue created. And I've already got Jira API because it takes a little bit more work to set up an API key there. But when a Jira is created, I want it to do the same thing, which will say Jira and close out, then execute, and then Atlassian board, cool. And I can create a new issue, say test, what's it called, Jira, yeah. And we come out here, and it says hello Jira. So you can trigger things programmatically, you can do things all sorts of ways. And then stepping up a little bit more, sorry, I don't mess with the server very much, it's just a little test one I use. Back to my workflows. And save that one. And then this one. So the next part is you don't want to just put out static text. You want to find out what the event sent into n8n. You want to gather the data from that, and then you want to forward that into whatever your destination is. I like calling it pushing strings because if you pull a string, it's easy, but if you're trying to push it around somewhere, it's a little bit harder. Not everyone laughs at that one, but that's what I call it. And so sample Jira, posted to Discord. All right, so this one, when it ran, in addition to just having an event come through, it's got things like the account ID, the avatar URL for who sent it, display names, the issue, the description, the status. Like Jira has written all of their API into a UI, and then if you want to say what was the resolution, you just drag it over here and include the resolution as your event. What that'll look like in Discord is further up, or actually it'll be at the end because it just happened. So it'll say new Jira created, which is hard-coded, but then my username came through programmatically, the Jira ID came through programmatically. I was able to add a link to the Jira, it says test Jira, and it's got the summary. So that's another simple way to go about getting those things going. And the next part I wanted to do was to show what you can do if you add a little bit of logic in between. So, leave that one. And we've got RSS. So, in addition to having your basic input-output type nodes, you can have logic flow nodes, and some of those include if statements, switch, if then else, filters. The one that I'm showing here is we can have an RSS feed, and I'm using TechCrunch just as an example, and it gives us, sorry it's so small, but it's got 20 RSS articles that have been posted in their current feed, and let's say we only want to get 2 or 3, so we say give me 3 of them, or let's change it to 2, and save that. Then when we execute it, it'll limit the output. And I probably should have said it earlier, but the output is available in a schema, so you can drag and drop. It's also available as JSON if you want to look at what the actual response from the web services are doing. And then if you like the Excel look, you can do some tables and stuff. I usually switch between JSON and schema. But yeah, so from there you can have it run once per item, or you can have it compile it all together, but it'll post these news articles to Discord as well. And they come through 1, 2 instead of the 3 that were in the previous history. So those are some of those. The next thing is the credentials. So one of the biggest challenges with creating and using things, you should use password managers and things for your credentials securely. But once you're writing the integration, you want to be able to quickly say, I just want to use this account. I don't want to have to type in my API key 100 times and all that stuff. So what you can do there is you got credentials. I showed you the Discord webhook. I can integrate with my GitHub, OpenAI, error workflows, mail servers. There's an open weather map, which I can show. But if you create a new credential, those are the ones I did like in the last couple hours. This is how many credentials they have predetermined that aren't manually set up through OAuth. So if you can think of it, yeah, there's a good one like PayPal. If you want to do a PayPal integration and get paid every time someone clicks on your website, you could set up your PayPal integration. So those are the credentials and integrations, and then passing data between nodes. I showed a little bit of it, that you can drag and drop the fields from the previous input into the fields of the output to go through there. And so last one is this open weather map, which is another basic thing that uses a different credential, a different API, and it goes straight out there and gets the open weather map Springfield for weather for Springfield, and you can format it as you like to. And what that looks like, every time the code is run by default, it'll save all the inputs and outputs of that workflow. So if something went wrong, it'll tell you what happened and why. So for this one, I hit the wrong city state. I didn't specify it in the right field, and so it gave me an error message. Once I got that fixed, I can come here and view all the data from before and after the execution. So I clicked execute workflow. It gave me the coordinates, the weather, all the basic things here. And then it went to Discord as we expected with, it's got a little breakout field here. It's got your code itself, which is your JavaScript expressions, and then it's got what that translated into as a result from there. And if you wanted to modify it, you would just come in here and grab the max temperature and drag it over there. I gotta go to the editor, but go to the editor and then you can do it. So, all right. So those are kind of basic things. The last thing I wanted to demo, and then I'll take questions or we can explore other ideas that people want to try out, are the SSH command and code workflows, which are, and also we'll go over HTTPS REST and GraphQL. But basically, let's say you want to connect to something that doesn't exist yet. So if I want to go to OpenStreetMap, I don't think they have an integration yet. But you can create a trigger that goes to an endpoint, and it just uses a REST call. So make an HTTP request. It gives you all your basic HTTP request features. You can say get, and I think this works actually. I haven't tested it yet today, but it'll actually do wherever you tell it to go, if it's an API, if it's a website, whatever you want to do. You can customize it, send your authentication, headers, body, all that stuff. So that allows you to basically design your own integrations for your own company, for your own internal APIs, stuff like that. And that's typically what I do at my work, is I'll be writing against our API that we haven't published out to the main public yet. So, and then GraphQL is similar. I don't know if everyone's used GraphQL before, but it's basically you send in a JSON body as a post as for what you want to get back, and then you can set in variables, and it's, again, just a simple UI that lets you build your query programmatically, send it to the GraphQL, and then get your response back in the JSON that GraphQL sends it back in. All right, and the last part I was going to show before we switch over is for, actually I'll do it from scratch, and then if it doesn't work, I'll go back to that one. So we'll create a new workflow, and it's called an AI agent. And there's a chat feature that you can build here. You can also embed that chat in a website. And what it looks like is when we receive a chat message from this chat in the bottom left, then call our AI agent. So an AI agent has three main parts. It's got the chat model, which is your LLM, your ChatGPT, your Llama, whatever you want to use. It's got your memory, which stores your interaction. You can have, the last 5 questions stay in the memory, so it's got some context. You can also have a pre-prompt for RAGs and stuff like that. And then you can integrate with other tools. So what we'll show here is that I had an OpenAI chat model that I set up earlier. And so I use my OpenAI account credential, just a simple G2 Mini, and use the response from their API. From memory, you can connect to an external data store if you really need some history and you want to track your request IDs and stuff. But if you're just doing some demo stuff, or if you want to test a flow without spending a bunch of money, you can just say, give me the last 10 session IDs for this connected chat. And then lastly, we'll go back to GitHub, because I had an API tool for that. So I have my API account, which I created through GitHub. I copied the key and pasted it into the credentials website. And then from there, it lets you say, I want to look and see what files are in a repository. So let's get a repository from Neal Sr., which exists, and we'll do, I'm going to start with the one that I know works, and then I can switch over to a kind of a funny one, just to show that the AI doesn't have to change, the model doesn't have to change to switch context. So, and then from there, we'll just do log, we'll do code, JavaScript. So this will just spit out what it generates. So, coming over here, I'll type a chat message. What can you tell me about Neal's repo? And what this does, in real time, it tells you what calls it's making to the OpenAI, tells you what calls it makes to memory to get some context, and what it does with your GitHub API. And then, I don't know how to zoom in directly, but I can Control plus it here. So there's an advent code repo. It's at this website. It was created on this date. It's got a couple of things here. There's no forks, no stats. Pretty basic. It's got a main branch, and that's it. So what you can do is, because we have those 10 chat history questions, I can say which file is the most efficient in the advent of code repo. So again, it goes to ChatGPT to take what I ask and put it into code, and then it goes to the memory to see what other information it knows about. It goes to GitHub by translating using their tool. It's an MCP tool that it knows what API calls to make based on the context and code that we send in. So it says we need to analyze the repo and a few other things. Let me know if you want to do that. You probably already know this, but this is called the human in the loop interaction. So it, by default, it has guardrails that says I can go read, but I'm not going to write or dig super deep and spend all your credits on a search. So it says I need to download all the files to see which one's the most efficient. So yes, please, let's see, access the files and see which ones are simpler, something like that. So again, it's using that simple memory and making the calls, and eventually, hopefully, it'll go through. It makes a lot more calls for something like this, a lot more tokens, but you can see that it's bouncing between the LLM and the GitHub. If you had to write your own workflow, you would have to basically make all those calls as individual parts of your code. So it talks about different things, what the problems were from, and it says, looks like day 1 and day 2 were the most efficient because they were the easiest. If you've ever done advent code, that's incredibly true. I've never finished day 30 or 25 or whatever day it is, 24. So that's why they're the most efficient. So I can attest that those are accurate. So last one we'll do is an SSH one, which I hope works, because I didn't write it yet. But we'll trigger manually. So again, if you have a service or a server that you can't use out of the box, you can actually execute a command through SSH by creating a new credential, private key, and we're going to use the host over here. Gotta grab the IP address. And then port 22. And then I'll change this here in a little bit, but just a second. And then it's got a password on it. When you save it, it checks to make sure it works. So it went to that server at that IP, did an SSH command, typed in my passkey for my private key, and said, yep, we're good to go. We can do anything we want within reason. I don't know if I have sudo in there, but ls tilde, or ls-alh tilde. Yeah, so execute that. So it's literally going out to the website, or going to the server, getting all the files that are in there, my bash history, my keys, the websites that are running in Docker, and doing all those things. So what you can do with that is you can use the AI and a tool that knows about what services are running in your server, and you can say, use the information you know about Docker to see if the service is up by pinging this IP and port, and if it's down, log into the server with my SSH tool and check Docker to see what could be wrong through the logs. It sends those logs over to your LLM, and it'll say, based on the logs, it looks like system CTL isn't running for this service, and we can restart it. So those are kind of the sample workflows I had prepared ahead of time. And with that, I'm ready to answer questions or come up with other ideas. If someone wants to say, hey, can you do this? We could try to figure it out live. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. Hit that 30, 40 minute mark. So, but I do want to spend plenty of time doing ideas if you have any. So hopefully we do. Yay!
I don't know if it's much of an idea, but can you just look up and see if it has a service?
Yeah.
As a trigger or?
Yep. So that's actually a good point. Triggers and integrations are a little different.
Yeah.
So what you can do is, I hope it's still working for me. Add a step. Overview. Workflows. Here we go. Yeah, what was the service you were thinking of?
Solidarity. Oh,
it does not. Bummer.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yep. It does have SolarWinds. It's got, what's that one that's Salesforce? So a lot of people do stuff like they'll do their CRM. If I get an email at this email server, then enter it into a Google spreadsheet, send that Google spreadsheet to the admin to determine based on the input and output of what they write, send it to my LLM to see if they're actually a human, all these other things that they can do to speed up those processes.
So it's got Salesforce. Does it also have Marketing Cloud as a separate thing? Oh, okay.
No. One thing I will say, in addition to the ones that are built in, which is, it's not infinite, but it is extensive. This is a trigger thing. These are all the ones that start or contain an A in them. So, like I said, there's over 400, and each one has features within that integration. So, yeah. In addition to that, there is a community website that people can publish their own. And they're not officially supported, they're not tested, they're not integrated with n8n's core features, but you can download them as node packages, install them through your Docker Compose or other ways, and use them as like plugins for your n8n server. So hopefully that helps out.
Okay, I have an idea for tonight.
Yeah.
So if you go to springfielddevs.net and you go to archives, the videos are quite old, so I challenge you to write a workflow to update that page with the latest videos.
Oh,
Tonight.
just sgf.dev. I'm
What
not
was the
sure.
website? sgf.dev? Yeah. Yeah, sgf.dev.
Yeah.
Website's broke.
No, I have sgs.dev. I've got a bunch of pre-filled links and stuff that I didn't clear up. So in the archives, we're wanting to look through these and see which videos are broken.
No, they're not broken. They're just outdated. I mean, if you check the times on them, they're from
2 years ago, 3 years
Yeah.
ago. I gotcha. And it goes to YouTube.
Right. So here's what you do, right? Here's the idea, right?
Yeah.
So you use n8n
Yeah.
tonight, and you update that website with all the latest. YouTube
Updating the
videos.
website would be quite a lot of work, but I can use.
I promise you, Levi has the password on him right now.
Nice. What I do know is that there's a YouTube one, and although I have not done it myself, I'm not experienced with it. I do know that there are people that have used their LLM to generate what are they called, the short stories, the vertical videos, which are vines, a ripoff of vines, and then they post it to YouTube based on the tech news of the day, and it's just swarming YouTube with stuff. But yeah, YouTube, you can come out here, you can get a channel, and I don't have an API for it, but you can say, let's get it from SGF devs or whatever. And then it'll give you data back from there. I don't have an API set up with Google yet, so I'm not sure what else you can do. But I know YouTube would have a demo on how to do that.
Yeah, and to be clear, the archives link to a YouTube list. So really, we just need to make it so that that playlist update
Yeah.
republish.
Yep.
We can automate it.
No, that's a good point. I wouldn't want to spend all my credits on rewriting a website because there's other ways to do that locally, but otherwise it's definitely a good idea. And a good question of what it can integrate with and do.
I saw a fun little data transformation option on there. What kind of data transformations can we do and how efficient are they?
Let's look here. So scratch workspace, my workflow, delete that one. Do you remember what it was called?
Data transformation?
Data transformation. I think I know what you're asking about,
It
but I don't
was-
remember exactly what part.
Yeah, you have don't
It might be
don't
the
type
set
anything in.
fields.
It's the third thing from the bottom. I mean, third thing from the top when you have nothing in the what happens next box. So yeah. it's
Oh, I
there.
see. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even show this part. So you can write. I had a few of them, but you can write arbitrary code, and I can show you one maybe at the after party and stuff that I've written myself. That does it calls the map API, and then in addition to generating a background map image, it actually does the Mercator projection of a list of lat longs, and then puts additional things that are mobile and you can move around on a map. And all the Mercator stuff, I didn't have a built-in API that I wanted to pay for, and so I just had that written based on the Wikipedia of how Mercator projections work and some GPT help. So you can do Python or JavaScript, and you can take any of the data and variables that you have before, including some built-ins, and then run whatever code you need to and get the output from that code. The output needs to be JSON in an object with a JSON property, and then objects in arrays after that. So, good question though. And let me see if there's anything else in there actually that I missed, because there's the code one. The set program. So the set one allows you to either manually or directly map stuff programmatically. So say someone types an email and it's a string of numbers and you want to convert it to an actual number formatted or a dollar format or whatever. There are some built-in functions for that, which I don't mess with a whole bunch, but I do know that there's some demos on what those can do available. So that's a good question. Yeah, this set one is a good example of when you want to rename a variable from API.response. array1 dot field2 dot maybe dot probably dot exists, and you just want to call it my name. So you can take that on the left, call it my name on the right, and the next time you look, it'll be in my name instead of that big long JSON body. Did that answer your question, hopefully?
Yeah, I do a lot of ETL on kind of ranges.
Yeah, yep, that's a good use of it, actually. Thanks.
I'm just curious about the MCP servers for like Cloud Code and having Cloud Code write your automations for you.
Yeah, so it can do things like that. It's something that I'm just barely getting into, if I'm being honest, like literally in the last 3 months. And so I'm not a professional on it, but I have a couple of slides after the, when I do the acknowledgements and stuff. There's one that did an incredible video about n8n intro, like I'm doing here, and then he has a follow-up video just about MCPs, and he has the things I talked about: talk to your server, run SSH commands, run these other tools, and then he used Docker's MCP service, which you can run Docker containers locally, to create an MCP and integrated the two of them together. So it's definitely possible. I just am not super versed in it yet. So there's tons to learn about it.
So I've used, like IFTTT for a long time before they started charging, and then even like after they started like charging. One of the issues I ran into, and I run into like a bunch of these, especially like new ones that pop up, is have you ever had any extensions just not supported anymore?
Oh, like deprecated?
Yeah, like they still say it works, but then you try it and then it's
Yeah,
like,
with 400 integrations, I imagine there's going to be plenty that do.
yeah. But, like, they stop supporting it.
Basically every time you upgrade from there, I'd have to look at the version release. Let me look here. Settings. Like every version they have, I'm on 2.00 apparently, but they're on like a version 1.150. So every time they release something new, you've got to do some backward compatibility checks. You've got to run your workflows. If you're writing a business out of it, you're not going to upgrade to the latest and greatest every time. And most of the videos I saw about 2.0, which just came out like the end of the year, beginning of this year, publicly, they said don't upgrade for 3 months, just like any other upgrade thing. As far as integrations go, it's ultimately going to be, Google kills, however, the Google graveyard, they kill their APIs all the time. So that's going to be a limitation of anything like that.
One of the other things as well is like, how much resources does this take in the self-host?
Yeah, good question. So
'Cause
officially,
I did see the community edition.
yep. So there's 2 questions. There's what type of hardware you got to pay for if you're self-hosting, and how much does it cost if you want a software as a service. And so what I ran was a 2 CPU, 8 gigabyte of memory, which is way more than I needed. I overpaid, but I wanted fast network, which proved to be challenging anyway, so I'm going to switch hosts. But the minimum, I think, is just 1 CPU. It can run on a Raspberry Pi, I think. Minimum specs for n8n. I'm pretty sure it was 1 and 2. Yeah, 1 core, 2 gigs of RAM, some storage, and a version of hardware that can run Node 16. So that's only going to serve a certain number of workflows. The one that I use at my work, we have things that run every 15 seconds on a cron tab, and that's for multiple websites. We have things that read literally every event in a workspace for our job. And so if someone clicks a button, it calls our n8n server, and it's running on like a X large or a large server in AWS. So a little bit, the $60 a month type range.
I was going to ask, how crazy complicated do the things that you use get on this? You've shown us nodes of 2 or 3 or 4.
Yep.
It's got branches. Does it do looping? Does it do recursion? Does it do things into other things? Like how complicated does this get? Does managing it stay
I know what I can
sustainable?
do. Yeah, so I can't show during the recording. I won't be able to show some of the things I've done, but I might be able to talk to you about them after, or describe them at least. But what we can do is create a workflow from a template that publish content to social platforms using bio table and Airtable, apparently. So this is this is something, it's documented, it's got comments, it's got multiple APIs, it uses Telegram, all these other credentials you'll need to use. So it says, hey, you got to create all these credentials. I'm not going to do that. Let me see if I can just zoom in on it. Oh, I forget. I'm using a mouse, so I got to control zoom and control drag. So yeah, you can create these notes to make it kind of document your nodes. Tells you how to get it running. You've got to run a nodes server, and then I've literally never looked at this one before, but it's got the MCP stuff, or the AI agent, gets it published, goes to the image upload, video upload, does some weighting, some threading, quite a lot of stuff, more than I do in a typical day, because I'm just making UI-based calls to a workspace. But that's a pretty good question. I've not looked at some of these complex ones, aside from YouTube videos.
Slight follow-up from the chat on the question about like the resources you need to host it. What does pricing look like for their hosted version?
I had that pulled up. So self-hosted, you do get a month free. So if you can make your own email addresses, it's free forever. Just kidding. I did not condone that. So starter packages looks like $20 a month, but it can do 2,000 workflows at a time, or workflows in that time period. So unlimited steps, unlimited users. It also, another thing that is continuing to help it expand, which I've not used, is you can have an AI prompt that generates an n8n workflow, which I tried to do with Copilot, and it was okay. But it's something that they also charge for that, so you get 50 credits there, apparently. Self-hosting, monthly is a little bit more, of course. And then if you're going to self-host and you want additional features, which I can show you just real briefly what those would be. Overview, leave, and here we go. Insights is a good example. So it'll say, hey, you should upgrade. And these are the features that are included. It's the same site I was on. But yeah, you get integration with your GitHubs and SSO, multiple users, multiple roles, all those enterprise level things. But it's not free, so for sure. Yeah.
If my preferred workflow/developing environment, my idea of an IDE is a terminal with an agentic coding manager like Claude Code and NeoVim, can I still easily get the same things done I could use n8n for in that preferred environment? Or would using n8n still make certain things a lot more easier for me?
It depends on what your code is going to do. It's a good question, because it's, if I already have a tool, why would I pay for it or use a different tool that's not going to change anything about my life? One thing I do know, because I don't know exactly what the workflow is, but if you know what your workflow is, in addition to, silly thing, you can come in here and set how much time it saves in the settings. And then over time, you can say, let's say every time this workflow runs, it saves me 10 minutes of reading a spreadsheet, emailing my boss, and scrolling through a GitHub account. Now, anytime we send a chat message, it tallies up that time. Over the course of a month, you can say, oh, look, I saved 8 hours a day, or I saved 8 hours for the month, or whatever those things are. That's a new feature that I actually literally found out this week was added to it. What I would recommend is, I know that you can generate those workflows from your terminal Cloud Code things. It's all JSON under the hood. The nodes have a node ID, they have inputs and variables, and they have output IDs, and they all daisy chain together through a map. So, or a graph.
JSON
sorry.
under the hood. Are there other programs that can process this JSON?
There might be. I'd have to. A couple of things about that. So I don't know if there's other tools that can interpret n8n data, but I do know that n8n supports copy paste. So you can copy a node from one server, paste it into a text file. It gives you the JSON. You copy the text over to your new server, paste the text, and it'll interpret it as nodes. So you can literally copy from server to server or from your server to the community help desk I've had to do that before. And it's intelligent enough to obfuscate all your credentials. So you have to reset all the credentials when you copy paste, but everything else is inputs and outputs are all there. So it's kind of cool. Good question.
As you're editing these over time, is there any sort of version history?
There is, yeah. So
Roll
the
back.
2 version histories, and that's super important because you don't want to have to pay for Enterprise to get GitHub access if you can just access it. So by default, it saves all the executions, which I got to find here, within a certain amount of time, I think is the only restriction there. So I hit these demo ones that we were working with. It's got some error execution. So you can filter your workflows, you can tag them. So you can say this one's a cron job or whatever, just an example. And then you come over here and say what cron jobs have execution errors. From there, though, what you can do is say I want to look at what it was doing at 1 o'clock in the morning, apparently. And you can copy it to the editor, and I can see what changed between 1 a.m. and this evening's presentation and what broke or whatnot. What you can do after that is you can actually publish it again, or you can copy the nodes and paste them into your editor again. Let's see. Yeah, you can unpublish it, grab an editor, and publish that one instead to go back to an older version as long as it's in your own database. The database as it does by default is SQLite, but you can connect it to a Postgres database, and then you've got infinite history.
So this is kind of like a 2-part question. Number 1, is this the community edition or the enterprise?
This is the community free edition running with Docker Compose on my own hardware.
Okay.
So,
And then what are the limitations of the community versus
yeah, I
versus
thought
like
there was
the,
more
the
to it.
layers up?
Let's see. Here you go. So SSO. It's sending me to the sales page. It used to have a list of the differences, and I'm sure it's probably like an article in their blog now. Maybe that's pricing, enterprise. Yeah, apologies. They've changed their website frequently, and I don't know that they have the A to B comparison anymore that I'm used to seeing. But you can go to the community and do a search, and I'm sure it'll be in there. So, good question.
In an enterprise setting, could you have like some sort of version control? Is that
Yeah, that's the idea with the GitHub integration. Is in addition to your execution history, you can publish it to GitHub. You can track users. You can let me find here. Users is upgrade to do this and upgrade to that. So yeah, some of these you can invite viewers and create additional roles with that enterprise plan. It looks like it's kind of an annoyware setup right now, which is fine. That's how they have to get you to upgrade, but it's a little bit difficult to remember which ones are all different. Oh, one difference is if you sign up for their marketing emails, they do unlock the folder system and a few other little nice to haves. And they said that they don't plan, at least in the last update I've seen, they don't plan to take away features, but they may add features as they come up with different pricings and plans.
What's the most significant limitation of the cheapest edition of n8n?
I would say the biggest one is going to be users. Like you saw, I was trying to invite a user and there weren't any roles or anything available. You basically have an admin root account on an enterprise edition, or on a developer edition. It's going to be you and only you. You're going to have to share that login with a 2-factor authentication, which is not bad, but it's not perfect. So, and then actually what I can do is in the DevNight chat, if I can find that diff of the features, I'll post it in the DevNight chat because it's a good question. And I apologize, I don't mean it to sound like a sales pitch either, but these are awesome questions, and it's important to know what you're getting for it. So I assure you I was not sponsored.
Any more questions? Going once, twice. Give him a huge round of applause, please.
Thank you. Yeah, just the last two things. I appreciate that. The last two things I wanted to say. I do want to shout out to all the people that wrote the software, obviously. My employer that introduced me to it all. Hopefully they'll sponsor us someday. And then Copilot helped with a lot of the learning it as I was kind of learning on my own. And then YouTube helped even more. The two that I followed the most were the Network Chuck videos. There's two of them, one including the MCP one that someone asked about. And then Futurepedia is just a 30-minute A to Z, kind of like what I did here, with a different twist on things. And then there's always the n8n.io docs. And you can find me on LinkedIn and Discord. So yeah, thank you all very much.